Morning, class. Coming to you once again from my fancy studio. No, not really. This is just my office at the school. We're on Unit 6.3. Unit 6.4 will be the last one that I'm going to have you read and take notes on because we're getting very close to the end of the school year. So 6.3 and then 6.4, I don't plan on giving you a larger test, but next week you will have two short quizzes between 5-10 points on each one, and then that will wrap us up for the school year. So until then, let's get through the notes for 6.3. Warning against arrogance. Arrogance. At the beginning here, let's go over a few terms. Make sure you have those. Spectacle. What's a spectacle? A spectacle, not these. These are spectacles, Old English. Okay. But to see a spectacle or be a spectacle that is a public display or a show. And you don't want to make a fool of yourself. You don't want to have a public spectacle. Usually it's used in a negative term. But spectacle, public display, show. Minister. Minister means servant. It's not a slave. There's a different term for slave and different connotations there, but a minister is a servant. Rod is a stick or a whip of correction. Back in the day when they used to give spankings, yes, the rod of correction. Proverbs mentions that. And then steward is a trusted household manager. A steward is a trusted household manager. Okay, hopefully you got those terms. I'm sure they'll show up on the short quiz next week. Okay, there was division in Corinth, and their divisiveness came from wrong attitudes towards the ministry and the people who were ministers. Their divisiveness came from wrong attitudes toward the ministry and its ministers. And attitude is so key. Attitude in life is so very, very important. Life is about 10% of what happens to you, and about 90% of your attitude, about 90% of how you react to the circumstances in your life. And the people here in Corinth were having the wrong attitudes towards what the ministry was and about the people who were servants of that ministry. 1 Corinthians 4:1, Paul uses two words to clarify his relationship to the Lord and the ministry, the work, the service that God had given to him. He calls himself a minister. Again, minister is a servant. Calls himself a steward. A steward is a trusted manager. So he's not the boss. He's not the one in charge. And that's how Paul sees the work that he's doing. He sees himself as a minister and as a steward. And as such, there is no place for arrogance or pride. If a person is a minister, he's not the one calling shots, really. He is to be the servant. He is to be the steward. He is to be the worker carrying out what someone up above him has given him to do. So Paul and the other ministers were simply trustees of the message that they had been given. And yet the people in Corinth were being very arrogant and filled up with pride. He asked 3 rhetorical questions trying to show that they were wrong in preferring one teacher over another. So 3 rhetorical questions, and he's trying to show that they were wrong, their attitude was wrong in preferring one over the other. The first question, who considers you better than others? Who considers you better than others? What makes you think that you are, higher, more important, more powerful than somebody else? Second question, what do you have that wasn't given to you? What we have has been given to us. It's not like we create it out of nothing and make it for ourselves. So all the gifts, all the talents, all the resources, all the abilities they had been given. They had received from somebody else. And then third one, if it was given to you, why do you brag as if it were your own? If it was given to you, it's not like you're really an owner of that. You're a steward. You're a trustee of that. You're not really the owner of it. To expose their arrogance, Paul sarcastically described their true attitude. And Paul can be sarcastic at times. You read in his letters, he's not always warm and fuzzy. I'm not sure how he'd be received in today's environment where everything has to be warm and fuzzy and we have to be very careful about people's feelings. And we do have to be careful about people's feelings. But to get points across, Paul was often very, very hard at times. In 1 Corinthians 4:8, already you have all that you want. Already you have become rich. Without us you have become kings. And would that you did reign so that we might share the rule with you. You already have it all. You've got all the answers. Yep. You're set. You're good. Yep. So he's being sarcastic with them as he describes their attitude, thinking that they know everything already. Your place and your purpose. On a more personal note here, you have nothing except what has come to you by God's grace. Your special talents, gifts, and abilities, the material things that you have, those are all gifts of God's grace. So what you have received, just like as Paul is writing here to the Corinthians. So let's give thanks for it. Let's remember that it's a gift to us, and so let's give thanks for it, and let's be a servant and a steward of God's gifts to us. Because remember, one day we will give an account for what we've done with our lives. Let's make sure that we can hear, "Well done, good and faithful servant," and that we don't have to be ashamed when Christ comes back. So your place and your purpose, you have nothing except what has come to you by God's grace. Be sure to give thanks for it and be a servant and a steward of God's gifts. Hang in there. We're almost done. Summer vacation's almost here. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to me. Until the next time,